Hello, everyone, and welcome to the recap show for Sunday Night Football. I am your host, Garrett from Iowa, holding down the fort tonight. We're going to get into it. I am with the Unwrapped Sports Network, as always, and welcome to the show, folks. I'm going to take care of some bills real quick, and then we're going to get into this game that was not what anyone was expecting, I don't believe. Y'all are going to have to bear with me a little bit. I don't got anybody else to talk to cover when I need to take a drink. But real quick, pay some bills. Start off the USN shop at teespring.com/store/unwrapped. Get your merch. I am rocking the gray unwrapped hoodie, rocking the sweatpants too. I'm not going to fuck around and stand up and show you those, but they're awesome. Everything's comfortable as shit. You can get shirts, hoodies, stickers. You can even get a fanny pack if you want to be like my boy Perry. So, yeah, check it out. And then for your gambling needs, if you need to make some money to buy some merch, check out mybookie.ag. Great gambling there. Parlays, parlays, props, player props, multiple lines, buy your points, the whole 9 yards. And if you use code USN100, you can double your first deposit. And for CBD pain relief, check out rxhemp.com. For everything there, use code RXHemp-USN for 10% off every purchase, and that's stacks. So if they're like having a sale on the website, you get the sale price, go to checkout, you get another 10% on top of that. So stack that shit up, save yourself some money. And real quick, I almost forgot, at the Unwrapped store, you can use promo code HOLIDAY, all caps right now, for 20% off. So go grab yourself some shit and show some love for the brand. And also, folks, if y'all could help me out and keep the comments popping tonight, I would appreciate it. Kind of trying to hold down the fort here. So tonight we had the Steelers versus the Browns. Holy cow, Steelers versus Bengals. Steelers versus Browns is coming up. Steelers versus Bengals. And the Bengals came in and stunned the Steelers, winning 27-17 on an overall fairly dominant performance, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And don't you worry, Alex. We got Alex checking in here. I was really hoping I could have him on the show just to yell at him, because I bet on the Steelers offense heavily tonight. And it didn't work out so well for me, in case y'all weren't watching the game, just so you know. So, yeah, the Steelers looked like dog shit. Got permission from Alex to shit on them. So here we go. They looked like dog shit. Big Ben, 20 of 38, 170 yards, 1 TD, 1 pick. Just horrible. And what's up, Trill? Thanks for checking in, man. I appreciate it. They were terrible. I said, Big Ben, 20 for 38, 170 yards, 1 TD and 1 interception, and 2 dropped picks that were terrible passes. Snell actually had a decent game, 18 for 84. A lot of that came second half when they were playing catch up, and I really think the Bengals were just not trying to give up the big plays, so let the run game go a little bit. Receiving, Johnson, 8 for 59. I did win that bet because I had him on catches. Claypool, 3 for 54. Ben missed him on a wide open play that got Ebron hurt. He hung Ebron out to dry in triple coverage and had Claypool wide open down the middle. But he still hit the over on yardage, so I guess we'll take that. But there's just, outside of that, your leading receiver had 59 yards. You didn't even get a 100-yard receiver. You didn't go over 200 yards passing. You didn't go over 100 yards rushing. They just didn't do shit. First half especially, I believe they had somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 yards of offense. 40, as in 4-0 total for the entire fucking first half, man. Just to be clear, I am talking about the 11-0 Steelers that I myself picked to win the Super Bowl somewhere around week 10. So, 40 yards offense in the first half. 3 turnovers. I think their first half drives were punt, fumble, punt, punt. That is not how you win a football game, boys, obviously. Just terrible. Big Ben looked rough. We got Alex chiming in again. I like this. Big Ben played like a toddler had the controller in Madden in the first half. That is scarily accurate. I'm not here for the Big Ben all out hate necessarily because I like him. He's been a very solid quarterback in Pittsburgh, but he had his head up his ass the first half. It was horrible. And second half was slightly better, but still. He was missing receivers. He was making bad judgment calls, overthrowing, underthrowing, just all the way around. And yes, we have a Midnight Moose. Shout out. Follow him on Twitter at MidnightXMoose. That's my co-host on the People's XFL show. We'll plug that later. But yeah, he is giving Alex all the hate for Ben. And Ben earned it this game. I'm not going to go so far as some people and say he's washed up necessarily, but they got some problems on that offense and they need to figure it out. He couldn't hit receivers. The run game wasn't going very well. He couldn't get pass protection. Villanova or however you say his name, normally a very, very solid tackle. He was letting guys by him left and right, including on the critical 4th and 10 that ended up costing the Steelers the game because they needed to convert that to keep their hopes alive. They were just down by a touchdown at that point. So, but that, and I know there was a little bit of controversy in that drive. I'm going to get to that. Oh, hey, Moose, if you're watching, Alex wants you to know that he did retweet the article with the Big Ben slander. So, giving some love to the USN fam. Before I get into a little bit of controversy at the end of the play there, I am definitely, first of all, we're going to take a quick minute here. I'm going to throw the tweet out into the retweet so that hopefully we can get a little bit of love, let everybody know this is going on. That's the USN retweet. There we go. Yeah, buddy. Get that. We need to get that love going. Get some publicity out there. Let everybody know your boy is tearing some shit up. I am live. All right. Got that taken care of. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett from Iowa if you got time, man. I got all kinds of hot takes. So, but before we get into the controversy, let's look at what the Bengals did on offense with their not backup, their third string quarterback. Joe Burrow grenaded his knee, as you all know. He's doubtful for week 1 next year at this point, but so that was pretty rough. So they had Ryan Finley in there. 7 for 13. 89 yards and 1 TD. Nothing too crazy there. Receiving, AJ Green 2 for 40. Higgins had 3 for 31. They weren't throwing the ball a lot. However, Bernard 25 carries, 83 yards for an average of 3.3 yards and a TD. Finley himself had 10 carries for 47 yards and at a 4.7 average and a TD. Perrine chipped in 4 for 14, and Williams got in on the action with 2 for 8. They just, what they put up, 152 rushing yards on this Steelers defense. And just crazy. Alex is chipping in all over the place. The run from Finley, 20-some yards, just right up the middle on a QB draw, untouched. There was nobody within 5 yards of him when you went into the end zone. And this was in the second half, or at least late first half. I don't know. It all blurs together, but I'm pretty sure that was a second half score. And yeah, at that point, it was fairly obvious that Finley was going to be running the ball. They were running RPOs like crazy, and Finley took a beating this game and just kept on going. I was probably the highlight of the Steelers game film is TJ Watt. Guy's a beast, and he laid some wood on Finley a couple different times. Had a couple big stops on offense, on runs. Had a couple of sacks. That's definitely got to be the highlight for the Steelers. But yeah, these Bengals. I mean, 230 total yards. Steelers had 244. 4.1 yards per play to a 3.9 yards per play. 13 first downs to 12. Bengals were 4 of 14. Steelers were 4 of 16 on third down. Total plays, Steelers had 62. Bengals had 56. They allowed 2 sacks. Steelers only allowed 1. Steelers punted 6 times. Bengals punted 7. The difference is the turnovers. I mean, far and away. 2 interceptions and a fumble all for the Steelers. And like I said before, Ben had a couple of other throws that should have been picked. And he also had a fumble that his running back, I believe, got on top of. So, I mean, this very well could have been a 6 turnover game if they hadn't caught a couple lucky bounces. And if you got catch lucky bounces and still have a 3 turnover game, I mean, that's not going to bode well with you. And obviously, like, the Bengals offense wasn't mind-blowing or anything. I mean, they only put up 230 yards. But when you're getting turnovers and playing, you got 1st and 10 on the first play of your possession and you're already inside the 40, you don't have to put up a lot of yards. You just got to get it within field goal range, which you basically are already. And then it's free reign to try to get the touchdown or take the easy 3. Either which way, you're going to kick some ass. You can't give up field position all day and expect to be in the game. And that's what the Steelers were doing. And they were still in it all the way up to the very end. So I love that. And Bernard with multiple TDs, mustache power. You got to love a guy with good facial hair. You just got to. So got to give some love out to him for the multiple TD game. And yeah, Finley looked way better than a 3rd-string quarterback should. Might be a 1-game fluke. Might be that the Steelers are that bad, because that's the big question now. Are the Steelers that bad? They're just, and there seems to be a lot of confusion with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I guess you should say. Because the first 11 games of the year, they did not necessarily look great every game, but they won. They took care of business. They got shit done. And that's what you got to do in the NFL. It don't matter if it's by 2 points. It don't matter if it's by 30. You got to get the W, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you won for. There ain't no fucking playoff committee to fuck you over. I might be a little heated about that topic too. But at the end of the day, it comes down to your record. So, like I said, it doesn't matter if you win by 2 or if you win by 30. A win is a win is a win. So they just seem to find a way to win those games that they needed to. And they haven't been doing that the last 3 weeks. And now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to play the Colts next week, whose defense, on paper anyway, is leaps and bounds ahead of the Bengals. And then you got to play a very hot Browns team. I think you're looking at a very real possibility here that the Steelers are going to start the season 11-0 and finish playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. I can't say that I can ever remember that happening. Team rolling into the playoffs on a 5-game losing streak. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but holy shit, that would be something. Roll in on a 5-game losing streak. But man, it's looking like they could do it. Address the controversy real quick. I don't know how much of a big deal is going to be made out of this, but Steelers were down by a touchdown. They had the ball. Big Ben ripped a bomb on 3rd and 10 to Claypool down the sideline, and he was open. He had the catch, and the Bengals guy tackled him, and there was no flag thrown. Looking at the replay, I thought I was kind of expecting the flag just watching the play real time, especially the way they call pass interference nowadays. But you look at the replay, and the guy got there early. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily a malicious deal, but he got there before the ball did and knocked Claypool down. It should have been a pass interference, and the Steelers get that pass interference call. You're looking at 1st and 10 at like I think it was at the 40-yard line of the Bengals. So 1st and 10 on the right side of the field. Instead, you're looking at 4th and 10 on the wrong side of the field. So, and obviously the Steelers were 14-point favorites coming into this game. They never should have allowed themselves to be in that position to begin with. But to really come out in that second half, firing on all cylinders like they did at the beginning, I seriously thought that the Steelers were going to dominate the second half and come away with a win. Just they came out 3 and out. Bengals got the ball first, 3 and out. Touchdown. Touchdown for the Steelers. Bengals get the ball back, 3 and out. Field goal for the Steelers. Bengals get the ball back, and then they kind of they adjusted to the adjustments and started moving the ball again. But the Steelers were still in it. I mean, down 1 TD with the ball with like 3.5 minutes left, three and a half, something like that. And a blatant pass interference call was missed that would have kept them in the game. You really hate to see shit like that. It was a bad miss, and you could definitely make the argument that it affected the game. I'm not going to give too much credit to the refs here because the Bengals had no business being anywhere near where a call could give them the win. The Steelers should have ran all over this team, and Big Ben had his head up his ass the first half and looked terrible. Second half, they looked better, but in the end, it wasn't enough to overcome the 17-point deficit at halftime. So, and the fact of the matter is, in the NFL, if you want to win games, you have to put yourself in a position where the calls don't matter, where you can take a hit like that, have a missed call like that, and it doesn't affect the outcome of the game because the refs are human and they're going to miss calls. So, I wanted to address it because they were talking about it on the broadcast. I'm sure it's going to come up. I don't know how much, just because, the Steelers should have never been in that position to begin with, but it is what it is. So, let's take a look at the rest of the NFL real quick here. I don't really know how long I'm going to go because I'm just kind of rambling, listening to myself talk, but I enjoy it. So thank you all for hanging out for the ride. Notable games from this weekend. I'm going to start with my Bears. I called it going in that the Bears would beat the Vikings this week, and they did. I'm not sure who lit a fire under Trubisky's ass, but I like it. 15 of 21 for 202 yards, 1 TD, and 1 late pick that the defense covered him on, so it didn't really matter. That was a bad decision. Outside of that, great game for Mitchell Trubisky. And old Monty, David Montgomery, Iowa State boy. Okay, played college ball for the Cyclones. 32 carries, 146 yards, and a pair of TDs. Hands down, FedEx Ground Player of the Week. I don't think he's been awarded yet, but he damn well better. Bears looked great. Vikings not so much. The Bears defense was surprisingly didn't have their greatest game, but I mean that's what you got to do if you want to win in the NFL. You got to have a complementary offense and defense where if your defense isn't having the greatest game, your offense can step up and score the points, or if your offense isn't getting the points, you got to have a defense that can stop the other team and help your offense out. And you can't run the whole season going one way or the other. Look at the first half of the Bears season when they had Nick Foles at quarterback. You can't really expect your defense or your offense to carry you throughout the entire season, but it's nice to see the Bears in a position where their defense did have an off week and they still put up enough points that it didn't matter. And the defense came up big when it mattered. I mean, Trubisky threw the pick in the end zone late in the game. The Bears came out and stopped them. The defense came out and stopped them. Didn't allow them to get points off the turnover. And then Vikings had the ball back, got it close enough for a Hail Mary, threw it into the end zone, and Jackson made a great tip to get it away from the initial receiver. And I can't remember who, but one of the other Bears defenders came down with the ball to seal the game. So real happy with the Bears win. Playoffs are a possibility. They basically have to win out, which they have the Jags next week, which should be a win, and then the Vikings in Green Bay. And despite how the last game went, I still think the Bears could beat the Vikings or beat the Packers. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but if the Bears are coming in there with playoff hopes on the line and Green Bay has the number 1 seed locked up, win or lose, I think that could be a lot closer game than a lot of people are giving them credit for. Bills beat the Broncos 48-19. Chargers finally finished the game off and beat the Raiders 30-27. Bucks over the Falcons. How many fourth quarter leads have the Falcons blown this year? I think that's at least 3. Like double-digit fourth quarter leads they have given up. There's something going on in Atlanta, and they need to fix it. Because, yeah, they had that game in hand. Kind of same thing happened when they were playing the Bears earlier this year. They had a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth, and Foles came in and was the savior of us all and won his one game of the year. That might not have been the only game he won, but that's the one that got him to start. The Cowboys beat injured 49ers team. A lot of people were calling this a big upset. I don't know if I'd go that far. Because the Cowboys have some offense, and 2 of the 49ers' best offensive weapons are out due to injury in Kittle and Jimmy G. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not they stick with Jimmy G next year, though. I think that's a real discussion because Mullins, who isn't great, has been getting wins with this squad. So do you really need to be paying Jimmy G what you're paying him? Maybe not. So that'll be an interesting offseason deal to watch. Titans-Lions. Titans won 46-25. Again, I don't think anybody was surprised by that. And then the Lions, I had family Christmas this week, so I didn't catch quite as much football as I normally do. But I know the Lions fired their special teams coordinator after the game. Colts over the Texans, 27-20. Again, to be expected. Watson's very good, but they basically gutted all his support. So he just doesn't really have any weapons around him. And even with that, he went 33 of 41 for 373 yards and a pair of TDs. Outperformed Rivers by 150 yards, and still it was not enough to win. Taylor had another decent game, 16 carries, 83 yards, and a TD. Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, and Colts came away with the win. That was that. I keep forgetting which screen I'm watching on. Let's see. Who else do we have? Dolphins beat the Patriots 22-12. Who are the Patriots this year? That's something I really want to know. I mean, they get smoked by the Rams. They almost lose to the Jets, and then they beat the Texans at home. They're a very strange team, and I'm not really sure. I think they're still trying to find their identity with the QB stuff. It'd be interesting whether or not Cam comes back next year or if they actually draft a quarterback. I know that's not really Belichick's style to draft a high-round quarterback, but I think that's probably the most glaring need at this point. I mean, with the numbers Cam's putting up, the question that I'm seeing on Twitter, and I think a lot of Patriots fans are asking, is how bad is Jared Stidham that Cam is still starting? And I feel like that's a fair question. Shout out to Max Austin in the comments. And Max says that I love football, and I do too, bud. That's what we're here for. That's why you're catching me at damn near midnight on a Monday night talking for some football. So it'll be interesting to see what the Patriots do in the offseason. I think we're getting to that point of the year where offseason storylines are starting to come into focus, and I think what the Patriots do with the draft is going to be one of them. Those interesting ones. Talk to Bears, Vikings. Seahawks squeaked out a 20-15 win against the Washington football team. This comes back to what I've said the last couple streams I've been on. I don't think you want to play Washington first round of the playoffs. It's looking like they're going to win the division. They get to host a wild card game if they win the division. And this defense is scary, and the offense is good enough. You kind of wonder what would happen if they would have had Alex Smith in instead of Haskins, but I mean, Haskins was 38 of 55 for 295 yards, a TD, and 2 picks. It's kind of a double-edged sword there because I don't see Alex Smith getting 295 yards in a game. He's more of a game manager than that. But I also don't see him throwing 2 picks because he's a very smart guy. He goes through his progressions. He uses his checkdowns, and he knows when to get rid of the ball. He doesn't put his receivers in a bad position. He doesn't make bad throws generally. So you take away those 2 picks, and Washington wins this game. Russell Wilson, 18 of 27 for 121 yards, 1 TD, and 1 pick. If you can hold Russell Wilson to less than 200 yards passing and force a turnover, you should beat Seattle. Like I said, Haskins on the other side having 2 picks probably made the difference in that game. McKissick had 51 yards rushing. Carson had 63 for Seattle. Metcalf, 5 receptions, 43 yards. Thomas for Washington, 13 receptions, 101 yards. I mean, just looking at the highlights, just looking at the stat lines of the people, it's like you really think that looking at the stat lines that Washington would have won this game. I mean, I wouldn't want to play Washington in the playoffs. It's kind of a fluke getting 2 picks out of Haskins. If Alex Smith is back for the playoffs, I wouldn't want to be the team playing them. And shout out to Melinda Carpenters. Keep up the good work. Love the streams. Thank you. I do my best. I'm glad you're enjoying them. And we got Matt Skura, Wise Cheese himself, chipping in. What is more embarrassing, the Rams losing to the Jets or the Steelers losing to the Bengals? That's a tough one. I don't think it's a very fun locker room to be in either way, whether you're the Steelers or the Rams. I did not watch the Rams game, family Christmas stuff, as I mentioned earlier, but you could tell Big Ben was pissed on that sideline. And Big Ben has been around long enough. He's not really worried about a whole lot, and he don't really take no shit. I don't know if you guys saw the clip floating around last week where somebody asked him about the whether there was miscommunication with the receivers that caused the, off-target passes, this, that, and the other thing. And Ben just dead ass looked in the camera and said, well, it's because I'm not very good, Brooke. And moved on. So he's going to say it how it is. I don't think he'd be a very fun guy to be around. Wise Cheese. My opinion would be the Rams just because it might have cost them the division. There is some truth to that. I think it was probably a more impactful loss for the Rams because they're still in the division race hot and heavy, and they have not clinched a playoff spot yet. And I love the way the NFC West sets up the end of their schedule. Pretty much everybody closes out the year on one or at least one, if not 2 division games. So I really like how that race is shaping up for who's going to get the division and who's going to get into the playoffs. The Steelers are in the playoffs. They were the first team to clinch. So this loss doesn't really affect them going into the playoffs, other than they got to find a fucking offense if they want to have any hope of winning. But yeah, welcome to my streams. They're a little more cuss heavy. But yeah, so but embarrassing wise, I'd almost go Pittsburgh just because Cincinnati's in the back door in the backyard there, and the Steelers just broke their 11-game win streak over the Bengals. And apparently that included playoffs. I was not aware that the Bengals had ever been in the playoffs. I mean, I realize that that is an incorrect statement, but just like in my head, it didn't make sense that they had ever been in the playoffs. They've just been that bad for that long. So, yeah, Steelers just snapped an 11-game win streak. Or the Bengals snapped the Steelers' 11-game win streak against them. So, I'd have to go on to put it on the Steelers on that one. So, let's see what else do we have going on here. I'm going to get to the Jets game because obviously that was a big one. Ravens beat the Jags 40-14. Nobody's surprised there. Ravens are coming back strong, looking to make a postseason push. They seem to be getting hot at the right time for that. Cardinals squeaked by the Eagles 33-26. Chiefs squeaked by the Saints 32-29. Take a look at that just as because I think that affects the MVP race. I still think it's Mahomes. I understand that Rodgers is having a statistically better year, but it's not the best QB award. It's the MVP award. And I think Mahomes has definitely not done anything to disabuse anyone of the notion that he is the most valuable player and the most impactful player on a 13-1 Chiefs team. And let's see, 26 of 47, 254 yards and 3 TDs. I mean, that's a solid game. And obviously the Saints came back some in the second half and got the job done. So, but the Chiefs still got the job done. Mahomes still got the job done. I know Wise Cheese is in there pulling his hair out as I say this, but I still think the MVP award goes to Mahomes. But it's definitely Mahomes and Rodgers 1 and 2 on that. Breeze. I don't know what kind of medical treatment they have at these NFL facilities, but I want in on it because there is no way that this man should be on a football field at this point in his life. He shattered, he grenaded his entire rib cage, and he's back playing football 5 weeks later. That is ridiculous. But he came out and went 15 for 34, 234 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick. So put up some very solid numbers himself and kept the Saints in this game. So very, very, very excited to see that. Okay, sorry. I was just seeing if somebody maybe commented on Twitter. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a question for the stream. All right, and I'll get to draft talk there, Wise Cheese. We're going to finish up the scores here. Browns beat the Giants 20-6. Everybody saw that happening. That gave Washington football team sole possession of first place. And then the other surprise game of the week, we got Jets Rams, and the Jets won 23-20. Sam Darnold came out 22 of 31, 207 yards and a TD. Gore had 23 carries, 59 yards and a TD. Crowder had a good game, 6 receptions, 66 yards. And Goff put up 209 yards on 22 of 34 passing, a pair of TDs, and an interception. Akers got held to 63 yards. Youch. Here's how you beat the Rams. Keep Akers under 100 yards. I don't think that statement shocks anybody, but it is what it is. Yeah, the Rams just really shit the bed, and you're going to have to kind of wonder. the Rams are another one of those teams. I mean, not quite as bad as the Patriots, but you're really trying to figure out who they are. I mean, is Jared Goff a good quarterback? In their wins, he looks like a good quarterback. In his losses, he does not. Shout out to Christian and the Ramily. So I don't know what the fuck the Ramily is. But that being said, yeah, no free ads here. All you guys get to see is the koozie. People's XFL show. But that being said, I mean, the Rams have been good. They just seem to rely on a running game. And Jared Goff has more of a game manager type quarterback as opposed to a Mahomes or a Rodgers that carries the team. And yeah, that's just rough losing the Jets 23-20. Really good game. I know the Jets scored at the end to get the win. And now you're looking, the storyline from this game was the effect on the draft. So now you're looking, Jets are most likely going to have the number 2 overall pick. And the question after that from Wise Cheese is, should they keep Darnold or should they still go after Justin Fields? Now, this is a very interesting question. I don't think you go after Justin Fields in this situation. If you're number 1, you have to take Trevor Lawrence. He is looking like a once-in-a-generation type prospect. He's looking like he can come in, start day 1, and be an effective NFL quarterback. So if you have Trevor Lawrence on your draft board, hell, if you're an NFL team and Trevor Lawrence is available when it's your turn to pick in the draft, you take it. I don't really give a shit what your needs are. You take it. Outside of the Chiefs and the Packers. I think that's pretty much it. I think anybody outside the Chiefs and the Packers, you pick up Trevor Lawrence if that is an option for you. Now, that being said, I think there's a pretty steep drop-off after Trevor Lawrence. And, you know, you could be wrong on Trevor Lawrence, and there's people out there that will tell you I am, but this guy has been consensus number 1 pick for the past, this is the 3rd year in a row he's been consensus number 1 if he chose to enter the draft. So I think he has the record and has the history to support that. But you get down to number 2. If I was the Jets, I would trade back. I would want at least another first rounder. I would try to get 2. Because if it's a team that wants Justin Fields, they're going to want into that number 2 spot. But they have Sam Darnold, and the Jets have multiple problems. Number 1 being Adam Gase. And number 2, offensive weapons, offensive line. So you trade back in the draft, you pick up a bunch of picks. I mean, at the very least, you're getting first, second, and third round picks so that you get 2 picks in each of the first 3 rounds, and you load up on O-line and receivers, maybe a running back. I mean, you kind of got to look at the board and best available there, but you got to look at putting weapons around Darnold. I really think that if you're out of that number 1 spot and the Jags take Trevor Lawrence, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but just assuming that, you focus on putting weapons around Darnold, because the number 2 pick can get you a lot of draft capital from a team that wants to be in that number 1 spot, that thinks Justin, because Justin Fields may be a franchise quarterback. Sam Darnold may be a franchise quarterback. I think once Trevor Lawrence is off the board, it's a much tougher decision. And if nobody wants to trade back with you, then you go with best available and you take Justin Fields at number 2. But I would be on the phone attempting to trade back and leverage that into multiple draft picks, get some O-line, get some offensive weapons. That's just what I would think. So anybody disagrees with me and wants to put a reason in the comments, go right ahead. I'll pay attention to them. But yeah, the biggest story of that is the Jets have ruined the tank, and now the Jags, by strength of schedule, get the number 1 draft pick. So Unless they manage to beat the Bears next week, which the way the season has gone this year for the Bears, I would not be surprised. That's what they do. They build you up and then they rip your heart out. So, we were completely out of it. We had no hope. And then we beat the Texans. Mitch looked great. We beat the Vikings. Mitch looked great. We'll go in to play the Jags, and Mitch will look terrible, and the Jags will win. And we'll be out of the playoffs again. Well, I just want to throw that out there as a possibility. So, who knows? They might get that number 1 pick back, but I'm not sold on Justin Fields as a for sure franchise quarterback at number 2. And he definitely has the Ohio State quarterback curse on him as far as that goes. You look at Cardale Jones. I can't remember the other. There's been a couple of big names came out high in the draft that aren't playing in the NFL anymore out of Ohio State because all the talent around them makes them look better than they actually are once they get to the NFL. So I think that's got to affect these teams' decision making when they're looking at Fields at that number 2 spot, and you have a Sam Darnold who just hasn't really had the weapons or the protection or the chance to really prove one way or another that he is or isn't the answer. I mean, I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying if you're sitting at number 2 and Trevor Lawrence goes off the board at number 1, you trade and improve the rest of your team and see what Sam Darnold can do with an actual good offensive line and some good weapons around him. Let's see what we got here from Wise Cheese. Imagine Juju in New England. Belichick wouldn't allow him to act the way he does. Okay, I will bounce back to this storyline a little bit because I think it's a little bit of a clash of generations. For those of you that aren't on NFL Twitter, which I'm pretty sure if you're watching this show, you're on NFL Twitter, but just in case you don't know, I'll recap quick. Juju Schuster has discovered TikTok. And what he does with TikTok is pregame, he goes out and he does a TikTok dance. I'm not sure what TikTok dance is, so don't ask me that. But he goes out and does a TikTok dance on the team's logo at center field. And apparently this makes other teams angry or whatever. And that's part of why the Bengals beat the Steelers. I don't buy it. The Bengals beat the Steelers because Big Ben played like shit in the first half, and then he couldn't play well enough to overcome it in the second half, and they don't have a run game. And that's that. And I don't understand with the defense. They didn't do a very good job of adjusting to Finley being a running quarterback because he was running all over him. But we covered that earlier. I'm not going to revisit it too much. Juju did get murdered on a play today. The whole crossing route, caught the ball, took 3 steps, and got leveled. Lost the ball, fumbled it. That was the fumble turnover and put the Bengals in good field position and got them another 3 points. And the thing, I don't understand why this is turning into such a big storyline because it wasn't a storyline when they were winning. Now, I'm not like deep into Steelers football outside of them being an NFL team. So, but my understanding is that this is a thing he's been doing with his TikTok videos the entire year. So when they were 11-0, nobody cared. But now that they've lost 3 games, it's because of his TikTok videos. I mean, I don't buy it. And I don't hate that he does it. It's kind of like the argument in baseball about bat flips and things of that nature. We are turning into a social media 30-second clip driven society. Good or bad, that's the way it is. The good or bad discussion, neither you nor I have time for. I got to go to work in the morning anyway, so I don't have time for that. But it is what it is. And players are going to make probably as much, if not more, off endorsement deals and growing their own personal brand. And that's what Juju's doing. He's growing his brand. He's building a TikTok following. I mean, it, it's it's something different and something new. So as soon as they start losing, people are going to point to it and be like, "Well, this is the reason they're losing. It's because Juju's making all these teams mad by dancing on the logo." Well, he didn't make the other 11 teams mad, or apparently not mad enough, I guess. Oh, we got holy cow. MSKI123. I just feel that now they're losing. It's time to get serious. I believe he thinks it's a joke. I can see that side of the argument. I can't completely discount it. And maybe it's just because I'm a little bit older. Uh, I'm I'm a hell of a lot closer to 40 than I am 18. We'll say that much. And I just look at it and I'm just kind of like, yeah, there's one of those kids, that's a kid out there doing his TikTok shit, trying to grow his personal brand, increase his popularity. I mean, I'm not saying he's a Kardashian, but freaking Kardashian chick, Chloe or Kim, I don't even think it matters which one it is, or Kylie Jenner, whichever one. I mean, they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a 30-second Instagram post or an Instagram picture holding a bottle of lotion. Hundreds of thousands of dollars for 30 seconds of shit just because they have so many followers. And when it comes down to it, the NFL is a business, and Juju out there doing his TikTok dances is growing his TikTok following, establishing his name, and building a brand for himself. If he was doing it like during the game or doing some stupid shit like that, I'd probably be a little bit more on the side of he needs to knock this shit off and it's affecting the game. And you can make the argument that that's not where his focus needs to be. But the NFL is a business, and young boys out there trying to get his money. As you get enough followers on TikTok, people will start paying you to put shit in your TikTok videos. That's just facts, boys. That's just facts. For the record, anybody wants to me to drink, say, Busch Light or Jack Daniels while I'm doing my stream, so everybody that watches these streams sees me doing it, hit me up because I'll sell out on that shit quicker than you can fucking blink. Let me tell you that. And are you really going to sit here and blame Juju for trying to do the same thing? I kind of understand this gets serious talk, but I know he goes out to midfield before the game during warmups. He records a 30-second video. He's not out there with a film crew and a light crew and spending 15 minutes getting the perfect 30-second video. No, he just runs out there. Somebody's got a phone or whatever. He does his 30-second video. He throws it on TikTok, and he goes on and plays the game. I personally don't have a problem with that. And I think it's a little ridiculous to say, well, it wasn't a problem for 11 games. Now it's going to be it's a problem now that we lost 3. Kind of seems like a two-edged sword there. It's either okay all the time or it's not okay all the time. And if you weren't bitching about it week 2, then you probably shouldn't be bitching about it week 14. That's my take on it. As far as Belichick goes, back to the original question. Oh, holy cow. Sorry. I misread. It was MSKI123 that had the original comment. I apologize for that. I miscredited Wise Cheese there. But Juju in New England, Belichick wouldn't allow it. And I would say you're probably right, but Belichick is running a different program than Tomlin. Right or wrong, Tomlin allowed it at the beginning of the year. And it just, I don't really see him telling him to knock the shit off now, I guess is where I'm coming from. I may be wrong. I'm just a dumbass from Iowa, but that's my take on it. And yeah, I agree that Belichick wouldn't put up with it, but it'd be very clear from day one that that's not allowed in the Patriots organization. Right or wrong. I think that's just Belichick being Belichick, and he doesn't use that snap book or face chat shit, so he don't really know what's going on. If you all remember that quote. But I'm not going to hate on a guy for trying to grow his brand, because that's where the money's at these days. But other than that, I think that pretty much covers all the NFL brief headlines. Talking damn near an hour of my dumbass rambling. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Real quick, just plug real quick. I got Garrett from Iowa right here. You can find me on Twitter at Garrett from Iowa, Sportscaster as well, and TikTok. I haven't posted any videos yet, but I feel one coming on here real quick. I'm not really sure how the ticking and talking works, but we're going to try to figure it out here. And also follow the Unwrapped Sports Network, Unwrapped Sports on Twitter, unwrappedsports.com. I do write quite a bit, so I got an article out there about the Iowa Gonzaga game is my most recent one. So check that and all the other writers out there at unwrappedsports.com. And please show some love to our sponsors. We got teespring.com/store/unwrapped. That is the Unwrapped merch store. Real comfy stuff, real nice stuff. It's all real clean. I know our founder, Perry Aston, shout out Perry, has been working real hard on designs lately, putting out new stuff. The most latest is the Unwrapped Drip collection, which is pretty legit. And you can use promo code HOLIDAY for 20% off right now. So head on over there. And then also for all your gambling needs, check out mybookie.ag. That's where I do my gambling. They got good lines, lot of options for betting, props, player props, parlays, the whole 9 yards. You make some money there. You can even bet on soccer. I have no idea what soccer is about, but shout out to my boy Alex. I've won some money betting soccer, just doing what he says to do. So at that, and you can use code USN100 to get your first deposit. Everything from $50 to $1,000 matched 100% when you sign up with code USN100. And rxhemp.com for all your CBD pain relief needs. rxhemp.com. Use code rxhemp-USN for 10% off every purchase. And that discount stacks, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're putting together an order that if you order this and this, you get 10% off from the store. You go to checkout, you get another 10% off using our code. So stack that shit up, save yourself some money, and then take it over to my bookie and win some more. Is what I recommend. Shout out my shit real quick. Like I said, Twitter, Sportscaster, TikTok. I am on the People's XFL show, hosted by me and Moose, Midnight X Moose on Twitter. That airs every Wednesday night at 8 Central, 9 Eastern. So check that out. We talk XFL, TSL, a little bit of fan control football league, just pretty much everything football that isn't NFL we get into. So definitely check that out and keep an eye on my Twitter. I do a lot of random streams, solo and with other people, and stay active. But thank you all for checking it out, and y'all have a good night.